up? Burgess here with Music Marketing TV. Today we're going to be looking at sequencing with the RealGMS and 3 tips you can use that will improve your sequences. Tip number 1 is to humanize your parts. This is going to be different depending on the part. If you're making a lead, you're going to do this a bit different than if you're doing a rhythm part. Here I have a rhythm part. If I go ahead and bypass humanize right here, and we just listen to it, this is what it sounds like. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn on humanize. This is what it sounds like after. The differences are small, but they add up, especially if your part repeats a lot. So in humanize, you click it, and there is a bunch of stuff you can humanize. You can change things about timing, velocity, and sound, as well as pitch. I tend to not touch this one as much. For rhythm stuff, especially where muting will just sort of be okay to happen a little more randomly, I will turn on the random mutes, and you can pick your mute if you wanted to use the mute or the bridge mute, and how often. 25% is pretty high usually. I tend to take it down, but I left it at this for this particular track. The resonance and pick position, so you get changes in tonality, stroke timing, and also all strokes under the velocity. And it just adds that extra little bit of edge. I also have humanization taking place on the lead part. So this is the lead part, and it's got a lot more going on, things with vibratos and things. And if I had the random mutes on here, it would be sort of a disaster. Things that should be these long notes would just suddenly become muted randomly, and that would not be good. So I have turned that off, but I left the other things on. I liked what they did to the sound. If we were to do a before and after, we'll just play the first little bit of it here. This is before. And we'll go ahead and turn on humanize. So there you go. It can really take apart, especially if you have repeating things, and just make it sound a lot more realistic. Definitely consider coming in here, and you can adjust percentages on how much these things are affected by randomly. That way, you can sort of rein it in to the amount that you want. The second tip is to include the rule of 3 in your rhythm parts. So if you're unfamiliar with the rule of 3, the rule of 3 says you can do something 3 times, and on the 4th time, you have to do something different. This is all over music. It's very common, and it tends to work out. And if you include this on a teeny scale in your phrases, you can often come up with some pretty creative phrases a lot faster. And here is how I did it in this particular track. So I have this rhythm part, sounds like this. And you've just heard the rule of 3, whether or not you realized it. And it is just a really tiny bit. So I have these straight tones, which may randomly be muted, and then these muted ones. And the beginning is just sort of the intro. So this, in fact, I'll color these different. So this is the intro. And then over here, this is kind of like the outro, this stuff. But I do this 2 hits, and then a mute, 2 hits, and then a mute, 2 hits, and then a mute. I do this 3 times. So this is sort of our bread and butter hit. I'll make this one, I don't know, yellow. And then everything after this is like, sort of like an outro, transition. We'll make it this sort of white, orangish color. And so we're hearing this, and then we have the rule of 3. 1, 2, 3, bump, 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 bump. And then do something different on the last one. Bump, 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 bump. And so we have this. and you can loop that. And that is the rule of three in a rhythm part. Give it a shot, may lead you to create some phrases maybe you didn't do before. Tip number 3 is to leave the vibrato up for wailing. So you can automate the mod wheel here, and that's what this is down here. It's the mod wheel, and this causes vibrato. It sounds like this. That's what's going on. It comes up quite quickly. And then I have these hits, but over here, I'd really like to do something where I'm sort of just wailing on one note. And there's a variety of ways to accomplish it, but the way I decided to go at it here was I have the note get hit repeatedly, and I have the vibrato come up and up and up and up, and this gives the impression of wailing, and then I go up a half step, almost like a pitch bend, and then I come back down. You can, of course, just use a pitch bend there, but I find that this often gives a better effect, and it's just really fun to do. So check it out. Here's what it sounds like. Pretty cool. One bonus tip for FL Studio users specifically. If you're in FL Studio, you're probably more comfortable with automation than you are with events in the piano roll. These are events in the piano roll, and I use them whenever the part I am working on has expressive things that go specifically with that part. If you were to do automation, right, it would exist as an automation clip separate, and you could move them around independently very easily in the playlist area. But I like to have them here grouped together because now these notes sort of go with this part. You can, of course, have a pattern with this information and it could still control something completely separately. But this is something I really like to do. So in order to do this specifically with the lead, what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to Browse Parameters. Now in this menu, you're looking for CC1, which controls the mod wheel. So if we come down, we will find CC1 modulation wheel, and you can right click it. And instead of creating an automation clip, which is what we're really used to doing, instead you want to go to Edit Events in Piano Roll. Now at the moment, it is grayed out. And the reason it's grayed out, I think if we have it currently open, it won't let us do it. Yeah. But if we go back to something like velocity, then it shows up. So that's something that I use quite frequently. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. If you have a tip for me, leave it down below. I'd love to improve and see what you got for me. Subscribe and hit that bell icon for future videos, and have a blessed day.